Have you ever looked around and wondered, when did I become invisible to the people I love the most? You raised them. You gave them your time, your strength, your heart. You taught them how to tie their shoes, how to ride a bike, and how to say thank you. You were there for every scraped knee, every tearful night, every celebration. And now? Now they barely call. They visit when it's convenient. Sometimes they forget you exist. Until they need something. It hurts, doesn't it? That quiet ache that comes not from words spoken, but from the silence left behind. You wonder, did I do too much? Did I make it too easy for them to take me for granted? And the truth is, maybe you did, but that ends now. Because this isn't about getting revenge. It's not about guilt-tripping your children or turning bitter. This is about getting your power back. Today, we're going to talk about how to make your children, yes, your own grown kids, realize what they've lost. Not by shouting, not by begging, not by throwing guilt around like confetti, but by doing something far more powerful. Stepping away. Most parents think that staying overly involved, always available, always agreeable, always giving, will keep them close, but it often does the opposite. When something is always there, people stop seeing its value. Think about the light in your hallway. You never think about it until it's gone. That's why the first shift begins with absence. Now, this doesn't mean disappearing completely from their lives in a dramatic way. You don't need to storm out or write a long letter about how disappointed you are. That's not strength. That's drama. What I'm talking about is quiet, intentional absence. You stop texting first. You stop rearranging your day to fit theirs. You stop jumping at every request. And when they notice the silence, they will feel it more than any speech you could ever give. Human nature is strange like that. We crave what we can't have. And we take for granted what we assume will always be there. Your silence, your absence, plants a seed of doubt. It creates space for them to wonder, why haven't I heard from mom lately? Or, why didn't dad ask to come over this time? They start to question, and those questions turn into reflection. And in that quiet space, regret begins to bloom. Blank. Underscore, blank. The power of indifference. But absence alone isn't enough. There's another step, and this one is even harder for most people. Especially parents who have always poured their hearts into their families. It's called indifference. Now, I know that word might sound cold, but stay with me. Indifference doesn't mean you stop loving your children. It doesn't mean you don't care if they're okay. It means that their actions, their neglect, their forgetfulness, their selfishness, no longer control your emotions. Because here's the truth. When you react every time they disappoint you, you're giving them power. When you cry, when you plead, when you try to explain for the 100th time how much it hurts to be ignored, all you're doing is confirming that they still have the upper hand. That your emotions rise and fall based on how they treat you. But imagine this instead. Imagine your son comes over for the first time in months and expects you to be beaming, overflowing with gratitude just because he showed up. But you're calm, polite, unbothered. You make small talk. You ask how he's doing. You don't bring up the months of silence. You don't ask why he stayed away. You don't cry. You don't complain. You simply show him that your world didn't stop spinning in his absence. That gets under the skin. Because now he's not sure where he stands with you. He expected guilt. He expected emotion. Instead, he gets grace and distance. And in that distance, he starts to feel the weight of your absence more deeply than any lecture could ever deliver. The beauty of indifference is that it puts the focus back on you. It says, I still have a life. I still have peace. And I'm not here to beg for scraps of your attention anymore. And when that shift happens, something remarkable begins. The children who thought they had all the control, who believed you'd always be there no matter how they treated you, suddenly feel unsettled. The certainty they once had starts to crack. Blank. Underscore, blank. Realizing what you're really missing. But maybe you're thinking, I miss them. I miss my grandchildren. I just want to feel needed again. I hear you. That desire. That ache. It's real. But here's something most people don't realize. You might not actually be missing them. You might be missing the feeling they gave you. The validation, the sense of being important, of being chosen, of still having a place. It's easy to confuse missing someone with missing the way they made you feel. And that's where the next part of this journey begins. Recognizing that what you've been chasing isn't necessarily your child's love. It's the validation they once gave you. The feeling of being enough. Being valued. But you don't need anyone else to tell you that you matter. You already do. You've lived decades. You've survived loss, heartbreak, change, disappointment. You've sacrificed. You've built a life. You don't need to chase a phone call or an invitation to prove your worth. Because the moment you stop chasing, the moment you let go of needing their approval, is the moment you begin to rebuild yourself from the inside out. And that's where your strength comes from now. Not from who remembers you on holidays, but from the quiet, steady knowledge that you are still growing, still becoming, still enough. So if your child doesn't call today, you don't sit by the phone. You don't check their Facebook. You don't replay old voicemails. You go out for a walk. You make your favorite meal. You read that book you've been putting off. You build a life so fulfilling that one day, when they do call, you don't need to answer right away. Not out of spite, but because you're living, because you're busy being whole. And that's when everything starts to change. Once you stop trying to prove yourself, something powerful happens. The emotional hold they had on you starts to fade. And in its place, you find clarity. The kind that only comes when you've spent enough time with your own thoughts and finally stop asking, "What did I do wrong?" and start saying, "What do I want now?" That shift is everything. Because now you're no longer playing their game. You're building your own. And when you stop trying to win them back, that's when the reverse chase begins. This is something that surprises a lot of people. The moment you pull away, the moment you stop calling, stop checking in, stop asking how they're doing, they notice. At first, they might act like they don't. They might post happy pictures, brag about their busy schedules, say they're just overwhelmed. But then, the quiet sets in. They start to wonder, why hasn't mom reached out? Why didn't dad call on my birthday this time? Has something changed? And the answer is yes. Something has changed. You. What used to keep them secure, knowing that you'd always be there no matter what, is suddenly gone. And just like that, they start to feel uncertain. That's when they start sending little signals. A random, just checking in, text. A comment on your social media. A picture of the grandkids. Not because they miss you. At least not yet. But because they want to see if they still have you. That's where your strength gets tested. Because the easy thing to do is respond right away. To open the door. To go back to old patterns. But here's the truth. The moment you engage too quickly, the old dynamic resets. They get what they need, reassurance, and you're left waiting again. So instead, you stay still, calm, neutral. You don't ignore them out of anger. You simply don't let their little breadcrumbs pull you back into a role you've outgrown. That kind of quiet resistance makes more impact than any confrontation ever could. Because it forces them to face a reality they never prepared for. You moved on first. And that's the most unsettling realization for someone who thought they had all the control. Blank. Blank. Mystery and emotional mastery. Now, let's talk about something that's even more powerful than silence. Mystery. People will always fill in the blanks with their imagination. That's just how our minds work. And when your children don't know what you're thinking, how you're feeling, or what you've been doing, they start to wonder. Then they start to worry. That's why the best thing you can do is not explain yourself. You don't owe anyone a detailed report of your emotional state. You don't need to post vague quotes online hoping they see them. You don't have to announce your healing. You simply live, privately, intentionally, joyfully. Because when you become a mystery, you also become valuable again. Remember, people don't chase what they understand. They chase what they can't figure out. And when your child starts to feel like they can't read you anymore, when they can't predict your reactions, when they stop being able to push your buttons, they'll start to question everything. including whether or not they were wrong to let the relationship drift. But all of that only works if you've built one key skill: emotional mastery. Let's be honest. When someone we love treats us poorly, it's easy to feel everything all at once: sadness, anger, disappointment, even guilt. And it's natural to want to express those feelings. But here's the hard truth. The moment you let your emotions show in front of someone who disrespected you, you give them power they didn't earn. So what does emotional mastery look like in real life? It looks like holding your head high when you run into them unexpectedly. It looks like not needing to correct the narrative they've created about you. It looks like not flinching when they make a joke that used to sting. It looks like smiling, not because everything is perfect, but because you're finally in control of your own peace. And yes, they will test you. They might try to push your buttons, say something to spark a reaction, or act overly friendly just to see if they still have that old influence. But the secret is this: when you react with calm and certainty, you're not just showing strength, you're showing growth. You've become someone new, someone they didn't expect, someone they no longer understand. And when that version of you shows up again, face to face, it's time to deliver what I call the cold shoulder with warmth. No need for harsh words. No dramatic tension. You don't have to pretend to be angry or hurt. You just greet them as you would anyone else. With courtesy, with a smile, and with healthy distance. You show them that you're not bitter. But you're also not available like before. It's not punishment. It's a boundary. One they didn't think you could ever build. And that is what leaves the biggest mark. Because now, instead of feeling like they can come back whenever they choose, they're faced with a reality they never prepared for. They may not be able to come back at all. And that's when the deepest kind of regret begins. Blank. Underscore. Blank. Healing and dignity. It's not about guilt or revenge. It's about respect. It's about showing them, without saying a word, that they lost something valuable. And that it might be too late to get it back. This is what true change looks like. Not yelling, not begging, but standing still while they realize you're not chasing them anymore. That's power. That's dignity. That's healing. There comes a time when something inside you clicks. You stop watching the door they walked out of. You stop measuring your worth by their attention. You stop waking up wondering if today might be the day they finally remember who you were to them. And instead, you begin something far more powerful. You begin again. This isn't about rebuilding for their sake. It's not about becoming someone they'll admire. It's about becoming someone you admire. A version of yourself that feels grounded, strong, and whole, with or without their recognition. That's what I call the rebirth. It's quiet, it's personal, but it's transformational. Suddenly, you're not clinging to memories or reaching backward. You're reaching forward. You start picking up old interests you left behind. You take walks because they make you feel good, not because someone invited you. You begin looking at the person in the mirror and smiling, not because life is perfect, but because you know you're finally living it on your terms. And the amazing part is, when you stop looking for them in every moment, you start finding yourself. This rebirth is not about starting over at 20 again. It's about blooming at 60, 70, even 80, because growth doesn't stop with age. It deepens. And when your children see that, when they realize you didn't fall apart without them, but instead rose stronger, that's when the shift hits them hard. Because they were counting on the old you. The one who would wait, who would ask, who would always be there no matter how they treated you. But that person no longer exists. And in their place stands someone untouchable. Untouchable not because you're distant or cold, but because your peace no longer depends on them. And nothing can be more powerful than that. Blank. Underscore. Blank. The final lesson. Let's be honest. They may try to come back. They may send a message. Ask how you've been. Even apologize. And if they do, that's okay. You can listen. You can forgive. But you do not need to return to the version of yourself who once accepted crumbs in exchange for love. You are not the same. And if they don't come back, if the apology never comes, you're still okay. Because now you understand what perhaps took you a lifetime to learn. You never needed them to define you in the first place. That is the final lesson. You didn't need to bend or beg or break to earn love. You were enough from the very beginning. But sometimes we get so caught up in being what everyone else needs. We forget to ask what we need. And for years, maybe decades, you poured everything into others. You gave and rarely paused to fill your own cup. Now it's your time, not to become someone new, but to return to someone true. The you who loves peace more than approval. The you who smiles not because someone noticed, but because you're finally proud of the life you're building for yourself. The you who wakes up with purpose again, not waiting for a call, but calling the shots. And maybe, just maybe, that's what they'll regret the most. Not losing your presence, but losing the chance to grow alongside the incredible person you've become. But you're not waiting for regret. You're walking forward, stronger, wiser, untouchable. If this message spoke to something deep inside you, I want you to take a moment right now and remind yourself of this truth. You are not broken. You are not forgotten. You are not too old to be powerful, respected, or joyful. You are just getting started. Now I'd love to hear from you. Have you experienced something like this with your children or someone close to you? How did you reclaim your strength? Share your story in the comments below. Your words might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. And if this video helped you feel seen, supported, or inspired, please take a second to click the like button. It really does help more people find this message. Make sure to subscribe to Strong Elderly Life and turn on the notification bell, so you never miss a new video designed to uplift and empower you. Because you deserve that and more. Thank you for spending this time with me. Here's to living your truth, standing in your power, and showing the world that the second half of life might just be the best part. You've got this.